it's always an incredible and privileged experience to be playing in Mexico City, and it makes me so happy. And it's one of my favorite places in the world.
Was there a ritual or a creative process that was in the time of Turn on the Bright Light that remains in the other side of Make Believe?
It's like I love Turn on the Bright Lights. I love playing songs from it, but I really love playing songs from all of our records. I love all of our records. I'm really proud of all of our records. They all kind of remind me of documents at a certain period of time. I mean, Turn on the Bright Lights is a bit of a different one just for any band because it's the first record. So you know, Turn on the Bright Lights is like our very first song that we ever wrote, being PDA, and then you know, so it's like over the course of 5 years, the first 4 or 5 years of the band. But then here on out, after that, every record's like the next 3 years or so forth, like where we were at, you know, personally, like in our lives. So certain records I've written in different countries. So I wrote a lot of this record, the other side of Make Believe, in Spain. So to me, it reminds me a lot of Spain now. And then some of the other records I wrote in Italy or New York. So I like that, right? But it's crazy that Turn on the Bright Lights is 20 years. I'm really feel very grateful that it's like a record that I love, and I still love the songs, and I still love playing, and it still feels exciting to me versus something that I don't quite get, like an old shirt where you put it on, you're like, I can't believe I used to wear this 20 years ago. Like, it doesn't feel that way to me. It feels comfortable, and now that we're playing shows at the, you know, it's great to play songs from all 7 of the records and seeing how they fit together, and they always have a nice response to each other. So yeah, it's I do remember when we were making Turn on the Bright Lights, something that was really in my brain was that just I really want this to be a timeless record. I really don't want this to be of the moment. I don't want this to sound like something that's just good, that's going to sound good in this moment, but then ages badly. Whatever that means, timeless is a really hard thing to figure out, but it was something in my young mind of like, this is important to me. And so it's nice that 20 years later that, you know, certain people still feel a very, you know, a fondness for this album. So I guess in some ways it's doing that.
Talk about the other side of Make Believe. How was the process of making this album with Flood and Mulder at the Battery Studio in London? I mean, do you have a specific sound or concept when you decided to work with them?
I'd already started working on new songs, but we hadn't actually worked on them together. And but we had, you know, we were making plans for the future. And then, you know, the conversation about working with Flood came about. This is all like through email and so forth, and everyone was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty interesting." And then knowing that it would also be Alan Mulder, who's mixed 2 of our records, being album 4 and El Pintor, and he's just someone that I adore as a human. I adore, like, as far as his approach to mixing our music. It already made me feel like, well, this is one of my favorite people and one of my favorite, you know, technicians in the world, like, you know, music people and certainly engineers. That felt great, and it's not very often they work together, but when they have, it's been on very, you know, historic records. So it felt like a great privilege to do so. But no, and then after that, we started working on new material together, and then that would, you know, get us to the opportunity to actually start recording at Battery Studios. But we'd already mixed 2 records at Battery Studios, so that helped. I already, you know, I already mixed 2 albums of like Alan in the room, so I already had a friendship with him, which kind of made everything a little bit less of like getting to know each other and more of like, this is going to be exciting.
Let's talk about a little bit about the single Stony and Something Change. What's the story behind these 2 videos? I mean, how did you come up with the idea?
Well, the video ideas I achieved from the director Van Albert, and obviously Paul is in the video and he does a great job. He's a good actor, and so I think we're all very enthusiastic about doing something very, very different in terms of a video. The idea of having people dancing to it, really, there was a lot of enthusiasm between the 3 of us about like that idea, just kind of something really just different and not what people necessarily expect from Interpol. You know, it felt more exciting to me than us just doing like the basic band video. It felt like more like progressive, different, you know, and also we didn't know what the results were going to be, but we liked what it felt like, what the possibility of it. So, and then the 2 songs themselves are very different for us. They're like the first, I mean, I've written songs before on the piano, but I got a piano right before the lockdown, and it was a really good thing because then I wrote these 2 songs, the progressions on the piano, and then it was cool that there was an enthusiasm between Sam and Paul to actually build them into Interpol pieces of music. and they came about in a great way, and it was just really fun. So it's cool to have these two songs. The first two singles that are released are piano oriented. I don't play guitar in them. Something a bit different, but also nothing forced. This is just what we decided to do, and this is what came to be. And yeah.
You didn't tour with Turn on the Bright Lights in Mexico, but until Antics was released. You remember that first time that you played here in Mexico?
Yeah. I met someone yesterday who was at that show, and he was talking about it. And it was a very, very exciting show. It was very exciting for us to play in Mexico in general. I think we've been here a day or two, and we had a very fun time already. But then that show was great, and I knew that the stage was like really like kind of jumping up and down, but I had no idea how much the floor was really going up and down. And so it was an exciting show, but I think it was probably a little bit of a scary show in the sense that the soundboard that had to be held by humans, so it didn't go flying around too much. And but all of that was from enthusiasm, and yeah, it was a very fun first and very memorable first show in Mexico.
Yeah, and actually the second show was at the Palacio
I remember.
and it's the same venue on next Saturday. Yeah. So you're very familiar with Palacio de los Deportes.
I know, it's going to be our third time playing there, and at different chapters in our career and our lives. So this one feels like it's going to be a very, very special one, and it's nice that we're already in Mexico. The record's not even out yet, and it's the last time we were here early too. We did that press conference here, and we shot a video at the same time for the Rover, and then we came back. I think before the record came out, we did 2 shows, like smaller shows. So I like the tradition. Hopefully we keep it, that we can come to Mexico nice and early on the touring campaign before the album's out. So yeah, it's a privilege to be back here so early.
Your fans are very passionate, and what would you say to the fans that have found comfort or shelter in your music during pandemic or during difficult times in their lives?
I mean, to me, that's like a really wonderful thing to hear in general when someone, and over the years with Interpol, sometimes people have conveyed stories of, personal tragedy or difficulties they've gone through, and sometimes, and when they've included it with our music, helped them through a very difficult time. It's always like, I don't know, it's the greatest thing I can hear, and like it really touches my heart and humbles you, because it's incredible that it's something that you could have created, could have had that effect upon someone. And I certainly, even as a young person, as like a teenager, there's pieces of music that did that for me too, and that made me feel better when I was going through difficult times. So it's nice to know that could have happened. But certainly during the pandemic, when it's just, every day felt a bit uncertain, and you didn't know, when it was going to end, or when things would, go from lockdown to less of a lockdown. And obviously we're still in this moment, and it's still very difficult for many, many people. But at the same time, it's always great to hear when this has been music that's helped, get them through these difficult times.
What is an album or a book or a movie that have a massive influence on you or on your life?
I don't know what influenced my life. I did see this Fassbender movie again that I really liked, that I saw like 20-something. I saw like a while ago, maybe more than 20 years ago. But I watched it again during the pandemic. It's called Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. And it's like a very humble story in Germany, about a migrant and an unlikely love affair. But there's a strong humanity, and there's also a sadness to the story, very much so. And the tragedy by the fact that part of what happens in that story is also relevant today, which means as a society, as a people, we haven't advanced where we should have as far as acceptance and openness. But the humanity of that film really touches me, and there's something about it I just kind of love. It's like a really interesting, it's a good sort of example or moment or anecdote of the human condition and the difficulties of just people. But I really like that film. Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. Perfect. Crazy title, but I also love Fear Eats the Soul as a sentence.
In your live show, we can see a lot of young fans. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, maybe they just born when Turn on the Bright Lights were released. So what do you think about it? How do you
It's
feel?
great. I feel like, in general, we live in a crazy age where, people are, have very short attention spans, and they're getting music has a different meaning maybe now than it did when Turn on the Bright Lights came out, meaning that, social media didn't really exist back then. You know what I mean? And your attention spans were less divided. So I feel like the fact that, people, teenagers or early 20-something-year-olds, feel a connection to our music, to that record, to any of our records is like nothing you can take for granted in this day and age, something to be really appreciated. And I love it. Like we just did about a month of touring, and just when I would see young fans singing lyrics up close, it was it gave me like a lot of joy and a lot of just appreciation that could happen, and you can't take those things. Yeah, you can't expect those things, but when they do happen, it's nice that your music can connect to people regardless of age, regardless of background, regardless of language or anything like that. It's just more of an emotional feeling. I know that reminds me of when I was a kid and so forth, and feeling that connection to music and an ownership. You take that and it becomes yours. It's like yours more than it's the person who made it, and it makes you feel a little bit less alone and maybe more secure, maybe a little more understood, and a bit more like comfortable in the world. And I mean that's the way I felt, and I hope that it's amazing. A certain young people might be feeling that way today as well.
You could choose three Interpol songs,
Oh.
to show to younger than generation to like an example of the sound or the concept.
So I don't know. There's certain songs I do have a soft spot for that are a little bit different. But they played The Lighthouse, and we haven't played that. We don't play that very often, but I do love that song, and I do think about that when we recorded that song, and it was kind of like a different song kind of record, but it was also a fun moment to do it. Or when we got it right, something about the background of making or of the between everyone was fun. Pioneer to the Falls is a fun song to play live, and I love that piece of music. I love on the new record maybe two songs, so I'm gonna keep it to four. Then like I love Into the Night, which is I can't remember what I think like track, I want to say track 4, track 5. Maybe it's track 3. I think it's track 3. I don't remember. But it's like a different kind of song. It's like a little bit of a music changes keys are in time signature, so it's like a little bit, but it's melodic, really emotional, and an exciting piece of music. And it's like showing the band, a progressive side of the band. It feels like a piece of music, a good example of us moving forward with our songwriting. And I love playing it too. We've been playing that one live. And then our latest single, our latest song, Fables, there's something about that one that has, it's like very slow, but it kind of resonates at the end when and I really love the recording of it. And when it gets to the chorus, there's something about like Paul's vocal that I find like it hits me hard in an emotional way, but it also not an emotional way that's just like dark and heavy, but more like an emotional way that just hits you hard, like in the best kind of way. It makes you just move with the rhythm back and forth from the Sam's beat, and it's just like almost like you're in agreement with what he's singing about, and you're feeling it. And that's actually something we've been playing that song live, and you've been seeing people kind of have that similar reaction, like bopping with it. And so that's the way I feel when I'm listening to it. And it's nice to see people resonating in live to it as well.
This is a difficult one also. I'm sorry.
They're all
So, which is a song that you never get tired of playing.
Honestly, I don't really get tired of playing any songs. For me, it's like really important not to. I just don't. I think even as a kid, I hated it when bands would be like, "Oh, I don't like playing that song." Like and they would say this in interviews or distance themselves from records they made that I loved. I took it personally. Like it hurt me to hear them say something about that they don't really connect with a record that they made that I loved as a kid. Like it tried to like hurt my experience with it, and I didn't like that. So to me, it's actually important to like not feel that way. I'm actually always good at playing anything. I love playing these new songs though. So like that just goes in general, but maybe more so than ever. I love playing Into the Night very much, just like because it's like a very difficult piece of music to play because it's just confusing, but it's also very natural and very enjoyable. But I don't know. I really like playing. I don't really have a good answer for that one. And then obviously we have enough songs now that when we take a song out and we play one we haven't played in a while, it becomes very exciting again. So there's always that. So I don't really, I don't know.
Well, just to wrap it up, next for Interpol is more shows. Also the release of other the other side of make believe. Also tour in South America with Arctic Monkeys. Is there any other surprise that we should know? I mean, maybe.
I don't know right now. Like as far, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of things that are happening in their schedules, which I can't really say yet because it'll happen as we move forward. But and I think there'll be a lot more things happening in 2023 too. But yeah, but we're excited to put out the other side of Make Believe, to play songs from all of our records, and it's a real joy just to be playing concerts again and feeling that connection with the audience. And we're really looking forward to Saturday night. And it's always an incredible and privileged experience to be playing in Mexico City, and it makes me so happy. And it's one of my favorite places in the world, just to come as a human. And I come here all the time, so I'm really excited to come here and to play here at the same time.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. It's been such an honor. We are all super fans of the band, and we will see you next Saturday.
Thank you so much. It's been great talking to you.